العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الفاتح الخاتم وعلى قدم دار العظيم. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praises are due to the Almighty Allah, the Lord of the universe, the most beneficent, the most merciful, the sovereign of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, and from you alone we implore help. Guide us to a straight path, the path of those whom you have favored, neither of those who have incurred your wrath, nor of those who have astray. O Allah, maintain your praise constantly upon our chief and master Muhammad, the key to that which is closed, the seal to that which is past, the upholder of the truth by the means of truth, the proper guide to your straight path, and upon his family according to his eminence and his great honor. Once again, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm back on my series of lectures on the topic, The Divine Mandate, episode 3. If you can remember, in the last session, we were discussing the mandate conferred by Allah upon his apostles, his prophets, his messengers, and he sent them with messages to their respective nations, starting from Prophet Adam. Although we did define the concept of mandate in this context, that is, where the Almighty Allah, having created the universe alone without any support from anyone, as there was no one in existence except him and him alone, the Almighty Allah, in indicating this in the chapter of Surah Al-Kahf, he said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا. Allah said, I have never taken the witnesses to the process of the creation of the heavens and the earth. In fact, nor did I take them witnesses to the process of their own creation, meaning they did not even have the opportunity of witnessing the process of their own creation, let alone the creation of the universe. So, with that, we can understand that prior to the creation of, and there was nothing whatsoever in existence except him and him alone. When he decides to bring this universe into emergence, he did that without any support from anyone. Perhaps somebody somewhere might raise an argument or might ask a question that, how do we know this reality? How can we have empirical evidence on this, that the Almighty Allah existed alone prior to the emergence of the creation? This is quite simple. The only way this reality can be eloquently communicated to us is through the impeccable universe, that is how the universe is being run, that you can see knowledge, you can see mightiness of the Almighty Allah through the universal setting. Wherever you look around, you see perfection in the way and manner the creation or the creatures around us are administered. That means that they can't just exist by themselves. They must have been brought into existence by someone, and that one is no one other than the creator of the universe, that is the Almighty Allah. That's why in some other passages of the Holy Book, whenever he comes to mention how he created the universe, he starts with the word, instead of saying khaliqus samawati wal ard, he said fatirus samawati wal ard, or badi'us samawati wal ard. Just like he said in the chapter of Surah Al-Baqarah, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, badi'us samawati wal ard. فإذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. The originator of the concept of the creation of the heavens and the earth. It is one thing to come up with a concept. It is another to execute that concept and bring it to the reality. That is to the the tangible reality that we can see and touch. The Almighty Allah did not only originate the idea of the creation, He brought the idea into a tangible reality that we are seeing today. So not only did He create, He originated the concept of the creation. Here and there, all this did not apply as far as the process of the creation of the universe is concerned. That means that He possessed the mandate and He possessed it alone. The great and glorious. That tells us how the Almighty Allah possessed the mandate to say what to do in the universe and what not to do, and to legislate for us on how to live, how to exist, how to go about our daily affairs, how to conduct ourselves, how to conduct others, how to relate with any phenomenon in the kingdom of creation. What is the position of every single creature in this kingdom of creation? All is left for Him to decide, because He possessed the mandate to run the world the way He wants. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, if you build a house and furnish it, and that you live in that house with your family, as the head of the family, and the builder, and the owner, the sole owner of that house, of course He decides what happens in that house. You don't need to be told. No one, in fact, is not a favor from the members of that family to allow you to run the house the way you want. It's not out of courtesy for them to do. No. It is your role. The house was not before you built it. There was no house at all for them. That is for the family before you built one for them. And there was no, however, any family before you marry your wife and have the children. So with that, you have sole right to decide what happened in that house, and who comes in, who goes out, and who should stay in that house. Remember, Lord, to build the house was not erected by you. You must have bought it from someone. You even needed to go to the regulators, perhaps the Ministry of Land and Survey, for a permission. That is, there is need for what they call building permission. The rules and laws, that is with the laws of the land. Same with the constitution of the land. So if you feel entitled to do whatever you want, in your mansion. And when challenged why, you say, because it is mine. I bought. And no one will argue with you. This is now a valid proof that you possess the right to do what you want. Remember, even the building materials you use in constructing that particular house were not created by you. Sand, cement, and other building materials that you needed were all bought by you. You did not create them. You did not invent them. You bought them. They sell building materials. And that's all what you can claim. And the money, of course, it is my money. That's what you say. Yes, it is my money. I have the right to buy whatever I want to buy. Yes, it is your money. Remember how the question here is that how did you get the money? Of course, the best you can say is that perhaps through any legal means of acquisition of money, of wealth. You are skillful in a particular area, you provide the needed services and you got paid for the services you rendered, or you are engaged in a business, you supply the needs of people, you supply their essential needs and they pay, they patronize you. Any other legal means of acquisition of wealth. So if you are to ask whether that is the instruments of wealth acquisition, what do you mean by instruments for the acquisition of wealth? We have physical instruments. We have that is non-physical instruments for the acquisition of wealth. Physical instruments might be hands or anything that can be manufactured physically. That means you use physical instruments to acquire the wealth. It is limited to that physical that you can see. Its non-physical appearance is greater and wider in concept. Even you as a human being, you are physically small. But what you can offer in terms of services, the impact you can make in life might be greater and it lasts much, much longer than your material life. So these instruments used in the process of wealth acquisition were created by the same God that erected the universe. Can you imagine? The hands, the feet, and everything. So that means that with this, if you are entitled to use your physical organs the way you want. No, you need to know that someone erected those organs, not you. You can't create yourself, can you? So if the answer is no, of course it's capital no. If you cannot erect, if you cannot bring yourself into existence by yourself, that means you agree with me that someone somewhere brought you here and for a purpose. And you must concede to him the right to define for what purpose he created you. Because as the creator, he reserved the right to decide for what purpose he created you and brought you into the universe. You can't decide. After all, you did not create yourself. If you apply this analogy, that you and you are perhaps you are cattle, for example. If you possess some cattle, you decide what you would allow to live, what you would slaughter. What gave you that entitlement? Because you bought the cattle. You said this ram should be slaughtered. This sheep should be, this grass should be slaughtered. And so if you have entitlement just for the simple fact that you, he who created you is much, much, much more entitled in the first place to decide what to do with you. If you know that you did not pay for any of your physical or even your non-organs, you did not buy them from anywhere. That means you must concede the right to decide what to do with them to the owner. And that is what we mean of the divine mandate. You can see how far and wide the mandate is. You can see how overwhelming it is. You can see how all-encompassing the divine mandate is. That is why when he challenged the unbelievers for not believing in him or for having doubt for his existence in the chapter of Abraham, Surah Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, جاءتهم رسلهم بالبينات فردوا أيديهم في أفواههم وقالوا إنا كفرنا بما أرسلتم به وإنا لفي شك مما تدعوننا إليه مريب. When apostles conveyed veritable signs to them, showing them that they were sent by the Almighty to guide them to the right path, what was their response? They closed their mouth and they said, we disbelieve absolutely and categorically in whatever you are sent with. إِنَّا كَفَرْنَا بِمَا أُرْسِلْتُمْ بِهِ. In fact, وَإِنَّا لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّمَّا إِلَيْهِ مُرِيبٍ. We are in doubt with regard to the certainty, or rather the authenticity of the message you conveyed or you claim to have conveyed to us, or the message you are invited. What was the wise response of the apostles? What was of the Almighty should be a great exception. Is there any doubt with regard to the existence of the Almighty Allah? We may be free to doubt the existence of it, but not the existence of He who created us. Him who created us. How? Then what could give an answer, a genuine answer, to the origin of our existence? What could have brought us into? How could we exist in a big space called universe, a very wide one, and accommodator of us, the living and the dead? ألم نجعل الأرض كفاة وأمواتا وجعلنا فيها رواسي شامخات فأسقيناكم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Almighty Allah is challenging us here. Didn't I make the earth enough accommodation for you, the living of you and the dead of you as well? أحياء وأموات. أفي الله شك? Is there any doubt with regard to the existence of Allah? Fatir al-Samawat wal-Ard, the originator. There is a huge difference between Fatir and Khaliq. Technically,